Man, that voice right there. Tracy, when I said he was coming on and I didn't have the book, Tracy said it doesn't matter, man. You can make conversation with this man about any and everything. It's not his first time on the show, Heather B.
Okay.
He's been here before. I'm a big fan of his. I watch his podcast and I watch him pontificate in such an eloquent way.
Yes.
Very thoughtful, multi-layered in his comprehension and his cognitive skills. I give this man right here, I give you an A+ at what you do.
Oh, man, I appreciate that.
Tremendously authentic in it. You don't pull punches. You ask interesting questions. The man called me one day, and I was really at peace that day. I didn't want to. I'm at peace sometimes when I block out industry and any type of cultural conversation that's
just
too
much.
Swimming upstream, with headlines and all that. And the man called me and asked me a really interesting question about white rappers in hip hop.
Yeah, I had to know.
Are we able to hear it? Now I'm curious.
The question was,
this was during my Clubhouse phase, right?
Wow, Sway was just talking about Clubhouse.
Right, this was during my Clubhouse phase. So we had a whole room where it was me, Royce the 5'9", Glasses Malone, Mouse Jones, a bunch of people. And
shout out to Mouse Jones.
Shout out to Mouse, man. Mouse is amazing. So we're having this conversation about Bishop Brigante. Everybody's on there. We're having this conversation about do white people belong in hip hop or white people hip hop? And Mouse is such a savage that Mouse would just be like, no white people. I don't care.
Yeah, the Mouse said that. No.
Yeah, Mouse would be. And so we're having this conversation.
But wait, what was his reason? Like, what? Just no.
Mouse just goes, no white people. I don't care. Whatever they are, if they're white, it's ours. Get out. No, I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't like. And it's funny because he still represents that youthful, incendiary energy that I had when I was that age. But now I'm like, let's find the answer before we just throw the grenade and let everything blow up, right? Because he was like, Mouse would just be like, Eminem sucks, Lil Dicky sucks, everybody sucks, like whoever's out there doing it, they suck, whatever. Like they're white, they don't belong. So we're having this big room and everybody's coming in back when you could have like a real substantive conversation on there, and Ninth Wonder comes into the room. And Ninth Wonder comes into the room and he blows everybody's mind with the historical analysis of hip hop that he gives in terms of who was involved in the inception of hip hop.
Yep.
Like he starts talking about some kind of drum machine,
808,
and he
or
goes,
the Lynn drum.
He says, just let you know, like a white dude invented that drum machine,
the Lynn drum,
and everybody's like, what? You know what I mean? And he's looking at it from a different way. And I talk on the phone to Ninth Wonder, and what Ninth Wonder takes you all the way back to hip hop to like the earliest days of in the Bronx and how LBJ had like a say in, or how government policies influenced the creation of hip hop, how they smushed people together and the culture sprang out of it. So we're having this conversation. I'm like, man, I got to get more ammo on this. I got to call Sway.
Got it. Okay.
I got to call Sway. And I asked Sway, we're not going to talk about what we talked about. I asked Sway about a couple of specific rappers, and I didn't realize this about Sway. Sway is a hip-hop militant. Sway understands the culture, but he is very protective of the culture. And when you talk to somebody like that, those are the conversations that you have when you're talking about where you want things to go and how you need things to be. Sway has a very, very concrete set of rules, and it has nothing to do with race, that you have to do to become and be thought of as hip hop. And I left the conversation smarter. So if I leave one conversation with you smarter, every time I want to get smarter, I'm gonna call you again. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like that's what happened with Ninth Wonder. And then I was trying to get them to do a show about it. I was like, after that, all right, well, you remember?
You did.
I called them up. I called them up. I was like, bro, people don't know this stuff that y'all be talking about.
Right.
I was like, we need to do a show, you and Ninth Wonder, taking people through what hip-hop really is because the further we get removed from what it is that you're talking about, I think that could be explained as to why a lot of the culture seems a little aimless right now sometimes, because I don't think people are into the foundation of it anymore.
Yep.
The foundation of it. And Ninth and I actually started a conversation because of Van.
Wow.
About doing this. So that's still up in the air. I just had Ninth. Ninth came on the show last month when we did the show, and when we broadcasted out of LA, we had Guru and Ninth Wonder playing beats for our cipher. Yeah. So it's still up in the air. And I was very stimulated by the conversation because it was so out the blue, and guys like Ninth and me don't get to have these conversations because people don't want to dig that deep. Once you go beyond the yards of what they know, then we tend to lose. I find that people tend to lose their attention once I go that deep. Where Van was like, "Oh shit, word, really?"
Yeah,
and I didn't even spill.
Not really, but you changed my perception on it because sometimes I think if you nice, that's hip hop. I think if you're I don't think people understand, like, I'm from Louisiana, right? And a lot of people think that their soup is gumbo. It's not. You know what I mean? A lot of people think that their soup is gumbo. You make a little, you half-ass a roux, you drop some Walmart bought shrimp in there and a couple of franks, and you go like, try my gumbo, and we look at you and we go, you know what? You're not one of us.
Oh.
Like,
go that way.
You know what I mean?
Send them down the road.
Hey, God bless you. You're not one of us. Because if you make a gumbo can be many different things, but you know it when you have it, right? And there are rules and guidelines. And we just out here in the wilderness in a lot of ways.
Wow.
Like we out here in the wilderness in a lot of ways, and having that conversation. And I'm not saying Mouse's perspective. Mouse he's a flamethrower. I'm not saying his perspective is invalid. I'm not saying that Glasses, who is like another flamethrower, I'm not saying that any of these perspectives are invalid. I'm just saying that, like, there's more information.
Yeah. The context, right?
Yeah.
The term hater destroyed all of that. Like,
a word.
Absolutely, in my opinion. People, you have to be really secure who you are as a person, an MC, artist, man, whatever, to be able to state these facts and say these different things, and you had to be there. People got afraid to say certain things because they didn't want to be called a hater or be called old head, all of these different things. So it made people actually destroy the history a little bit, because it's like, nah, go ahead with that old head shit. Nobody want to hear that old shit. You a hater, such and such and such. But it's like, it's not hate. This is what happened.
Facts.
These are the rules. These are the guidelines, to your point about gumbo, and I'm just trying to stand on that. This person is not the greatest or the top 5. They didn't write. How could you call yourself an MC and you didn't write the songs that we know and love? Nah, bro. I don't care how many plaques by your name. So, but that would be considered a hater.
Because you saw that conversation came up years ago when people was arguing over writing and non-writers and all of this, and we're like, huh? Why is this not even an argument?
And it only applies to hip hop, by the way.
Only applies to hip hop.
Well,
so let me ask you a question though. Does it only applies to hip hop, but does it even apply? Because I think because we talked about that too. It only applies to hip hop, but then on top of that, there are even rules within hip hop for that, right?
Yeah.
It's like because we know that if you do most of your damage on the production side of things, then we don't hold you to the same standard that we would hold like a Nas or a Kendrick to, right? You wouldn't if we all know that, like, Hove wrote Still DRE, but Drake contributes so much.
Yeah, we don't care if Dre didn't.
We don't care if Dre didn't write. Right?
Dre is a producer,
right? So what I'm saying is,
Dre ain't trying to say he's the dopest number. He ain't the top 3 MCs though.
So even that right there is like, if you watch basketball and you watch the color commentary on the basketball game, right? That color commentary is for entertainment. It's to help a novice follow the game, right?
Yeah.
But if you leave there and you watch detail that the late great Kobe Bryant had on ESPN Plus,
that was awesome.
That is to make a novice an expert, and those are two different things to do, right? Like making sure that a novice can watch the game and know what's going on. I mean, okay, that's the elbow, that's the nail, that's the left wing, that's the right wing. But that wasn't what Kobe was trying to do. Kobe was trying to take you as a novice and make you appreciate the game more by giving you some expertise on it. My thing is, who's doing that for the culture? You know what I'm saying? And I know that people are out there, and the reason why I say that is, like, I don't think that's a conversation that people want to have. Do people really want to know? Because rap, hip hop means so much different things to so many different people. That they want to consume it the way they consume it and not really be concerned with, like, where it comes from. But at a point, it's kind of, if you don't know the history and the foundation to something, it's kind of like saying you love Jesus and then not reading the Bible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you at some point you gotta know the rules and you gotta know why it is you're doing what you're doing, you know?
I feel like things went left when we started labeling it a young man's sport. I think that is where the ageism became a center point in hip hop, and I also think the word sport made it so competitive where it's like, I don't care about what you did. I'm trying to actually wipe out, annihilate your legacy.
It always kind of been called a sport, like even in the 90s. It's always been kind of been referred to as that, but even to that term, the young man's that's all hater. Like it all came around the hater
But there's no other genre that calls it a young man's sport.
But look at how it was never a young man's sport.
Never.
Though. Look how old Curtis Blow was when he came into the fold. Look at Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Absolutely.
Look at how old Jay-Z was when he put out Reasonable Doubt. So that to me,
man, I wish I could be Ice-T age, getting to what he's doing right now. Fuck out of here.
But that was labeled. That's when that was the labels coming in.
Absolutely.
And they was basing who they signed on their age demographic more so than they were on their talent, and so that became a part of it too. But Van, I want to kind of tie this into Fat, Crazy, and Tired Tales from the Trenches of Transformation. First of all, that clip we played was an audio clip from this book. This book is available now, citizens.
Yeah.
Get the
get
book.
it.
I
Get
need to
the
get
book.
it.
Fat, Crazy, and Tired, Tales from the Trenches of Transformation, out now.
What a
Please go get the
title.
book. Yeah,
Okay, couple things I want to ask you. I'm gonna come back to that clip.
sure.
But I heard you talk about the nature of this book and what motivated it, and the fact that you had to unlearn a whole lot of things about our culture, this beautiful culture that's not good for us. Right?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing what you said. What did you mean by that, and what are some of those things you had to unlearn?
So when I said my culture, I meant my specific culture in
Okay.
South Louisiana. So, like, it's like for me, everything that when you come into this world, everything is given to you. Like, I don't mean like material stuff. You might come into this world and you might not have resources. You might not have people you can turn to for money and stuff like that. But even that is given to you. Your purview, your vision of the world. Someone says, okay, here, you got to struggle. Here, you have privilege. Here, you have this and that. So for me, growing up in Louisiana, there were things about being black in South Louisiana that people just said, all right, this is the way it goes, right? So the way we eat, the way we deal with our mental health, the way we deal with our physical health, the way we relate to one another, right? All of those things, they just happen for you. They just happen upon you. People just give you that type of situation, right?
Right.
Your diet.
Mm-hmm.
So I come up, I go to my great grandfather passes away, and I hear my uncles talking about one of my aunts. She made some jambalaya, and they're like, "Which one of y'all gonna go in there and eat some of that dry ass jambalaya?" And I hear this as a kid, so I go back in there in the other room, and I see the rest of my uncles, and I go, yo, that's some dry ass jambalaya in there. And they all bust up laughing, right? Because I'm just repeating what I heard.
Right.
My dad pulls me to the side. My dad goes, yo, don't ever say that about her. I was like, why? She's like, you know that your auntie loves you, right? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, every time she sits by that pot and she makes that food for you, that's her telling you that she loves you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about her, the food that she made like that, you're talking about her love and you're talking about her that way. So if you wouldn't want to hurt her, then don't say that about her. I know everybody thinks it's funny. Right there, I connected, okay, if someone feeds me, that means they love me. So anytime food is in front of me, I need to eat it.
There it is. Woo!
snap.
There
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep,
so
yep,
it's
yep.
so it's like, oh, come home. Hey, here you go. Like, when do you say no? Like,
Yup.
you use it to, so right there in that moment, like, food is love. Like,
Yes.
somebody, when my father passed away last year, like, people started feeding us. Like, come to the house, everything's everywhere. Like, when we want to get together and love on each other, it's a fish fry.
Yes.
It's a crawfish boil. We feast because there were times where we didn't have any food.
Mm-hmm.
So feeding someone or sharing with them is one of the most selfless things you can do in our culture down there. That's how we show that we're secure. So when I needed security, I turned to food.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had to unlearn was that there's no emotional connection to it. Of course there can be, but you need to be connected to a plane of understanding that deals with your health, right? and understand how much love you need from that, how much love you need from the people in your life, how do you love yourself mentally? Like, how do you take a break? How do you move on from some hurt? And how do you not just turn to things? So, and that's a beautiful expression of love and togetherness in my culture. And I had to learn how to do it. I also had to learn how to not use anger to get over some of the things that were going on with me, because my father was a beautiful, strong man, but you go the wrong way, you get the gun. Just like you get the gun. He had no problems pulling the gun. I done seen him bust the gun. You just like you got the gun. And I didn't want to, as much as I love him and revere him and still feel like he's a man who I can't really meet his measure of manhood in many ways, I just don't want to spend my whole life busting my gun.
Word.
You know what I mean? And people going to hear that and they going to think, oh man, that's what we do. We bust our guns. But we just trying to make ourselves safe.
Yeah.
So I want to get my safety through peace and not through having to, flex on anyone.
Van Lathan's here. Heather, I know you got to go to Urban View.
I do. Channel 126. Actually, it's Soul Food Thursday. I can't even make this up, man. I got recipes.
Hey, Van, go over there, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go have some.
You just missed the barbecue turkey. We had some barbecue turkey,
love you,
too.
bro.
Grilled. We ate it because we love you. Yeah, Channel 126. Y'all hit me up at the happy hour, WHB.
Okay, Van Lathan is joining us, man. We're going to get a few more minutes in. That man,
Sure.
he got lost in Times Square somehow.
I did. I'm sorry, New York. I always get lost.
And here he is. One of the things you talked about when you bring up your father is that I thought was really interesting is that you talk to him more. You have more conversation with him now, more dialogue with him now that he's transitioned than you did when he was alive.
Yeah, talk to him a lot more now
beautiful.
since he's been gone. Yeah. When he was alive, there was so much in between the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was so much in the middle of it. There was like, call him up. If I wanted to go to him and I wanted to be vulnerable, like, your dad, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. For example, like, I lose my job at TMZ.
Yeah.
I lose my job at TMZ. I want to call him up and be like, yo, man, I'm scared. They making me seem like I'm kind of something. I'm scared. I don't want him to know that I'm scared. I never saw him scared. So how do I know how he deals with somebody being scared? So I don't talk to him. Now I'm coming out here and I'm on the plane coming out here. And I'm like, Dad, you're in this book and you're in this book a lot, man. I just hope that I honored you. I hope that you're somewhere feeling at peace. I hope that this worked. And I feel empowered to say it because whatever there was between us, it passed away with him.
Exactly.
And so now I feel things that I would have suppressed in expressing them to him, I just express them all the time. Just like, I just give them to the wind. Nothing comes back, but I still feel like I'm connected with him. Yeah.
Yeah, because it sounds like your relationship is pure because it's just spirit to spirit. It's the flesh that's holding on to the ideologies, to the conditionings, to any type of trauma, to all of the learned behavior. So it's like that portal of communication is clear.
Right.
It's free of judgment.
Yeah. And so, and a lot of that was stuff that I actually put on him because of the way that I looked at him. But it's just weird to be reaching out to somebody more when they can't hear you. And I think that's something that I hope that out of that from the book that people get an idea of the fact that like you have got to make the effort to love the people who are in your circle and who loved on you while they're here. Y'all hear this all the time, and I know that the pandemic probably drove it home for a lot of people. Getting that call that your father died is I don't even want to, devastating and all of that. It's just peculiar. It's like, it's peculiar is the way I describe it. It's like, I need my dad tomorrow. He's not there and in the way that he used to be, and he won't be ever again.
That part.
Like, what the fuck happened to your normalcy? What's going on?
Damn,
that part.
Yo. Yeah. So people, like, you got to go home, and people are asking you, how did he live? And so it's important to me, for him now and for me, because he's alive. He's on a different plane. It's important for me now to just like reach out to him and be brave enough to do it in a way I couldn't when he was alive.
Van Lathan is here. You know, when my father passed.
Condolences on that.
Thank you. It was in 2009. but I remember it like it was just yesterday, man. I swear I was walking around and I had a limb missing. I swear I couldn't feel my arm.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I don't know what that meant. He was gone. I felt like a part of me was gone. I didn't get a chance to, live with him. I didn't get a chance to grow up with him like that. I saw him a few times in my adult life, but I got a chance to spend the last couple of weeks of his life with him. And when he passed, so when I was reading those parts of your book, I could really identify with it. And even the way you talked about, you made the comparison to Brett Favre and when his father passed and he played the next game against the Raiders and threw 399 yards. It's like, yo, this dude in the midst of grief rose to the occasion and was his best person. That ain't how you necessarily reacted to it. And you said that you owe yourself the opportunity to either be like Brett Favre or to run out of the mortuary when they start talking about caskets. However you decided to deal with grief, you owed it to yourself. I thought that whole part was really well done.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it made me think, like, what was there any fear in writing this book?
Yeah, there was fear from. Yeah, there was fear from. There's fear in like being that vulnerable, obviously.
Yeah,
you know what I
course.
mean. There's fear in being that vulnerable. There's also fear in triggering my siblings. There's fear in my sister Ebony Lathan, making her feel uncomfortable because I don't want her to have to relive that. And it's also anytime, and especially as a man, anytime you tell somebody you can't do something, there's fear. Y'all know that little dance that people do before they ask you for money?
Yeah.
I hate that dance.
That little, like, that little, hey man, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, bro?
The trepidation.
Yeah, I'm. You good, Van? I'm good. How you doing? Actually, man, things is whatever. Now, what I do is I make you ask.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, it's just weird. I had gotten a wreck, and it's like whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. You straight? Yeah. All right. Like, what's going on with the Lakers, man? Well, they got to really get it together.
Yeah.
You gonna ask me?
Keep pivoting.
You gonna ask me?
Yep.
Like I'm
Own
not gonna
it.
like you gonna ask me. We here. I know, like you gonna ask me. I'm gonna make you ask me. I'm not gonna let you live it. Yeah, man. I haven't really been have a chance to watch. The lights been on and off. Oh, for real? Cool. So if the lights been all off, then you've been outside a lot. How's the weather? You know what I mean? Just ask me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like ask me and cool. And that moment you get when someone asks you for something, because normally if you ask me for it, I give it to you, right? But then sometimes I can't, because I can't like enable everybody to keep asking me. So that moment you feel when you're saying you can't give something to someone, because that's people don't understand that's scary for you too, because what you want to be able to say is, even if you can come to me and I can't be accessible to you right now, that you will still love me.
Yeah.
So in writing the book, it's like sometimes I'm like, I'm giving this to y'all. After y'all see the way I feel about this, are y'all gonna still look at me in the same way? Because I'm telling you right now, there's certain things I can't do. And for my family, I'm telling them right now, there's certain things that I can't do. I'm 42. I feel like and hope that I have a lot more life to live. And so being that I do, I have to make sure that I don't get to a point to where I'm 66 with congestive heart failure because I didn't really learn how to deal with the stresses and the strains in my life.
Amen.
So putting the book out there, especially talking about a lot of things in terms of culture, like, because I don't just talk about these things with me. I'm saying, okay, I'm this way because I come from a people in South Louisiana and in Black America that are fat, crazy, and tired is how America tries to keep Black people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fat, crazy, and tired is how they need us to be so that we can consume and so that we can be a little bit off kilter to think that we need whatever it is that they're giving us.
Wow. And somewhere you mentioned, too, that it was harder being fat than it was being Black.
In a way.
Okay.
So
peel that back a bit more.
Because there's a strength in Blackness that people are afraid of, right? There's a strength in Blackness that Blackness is the biggest threat in the world. It's been something that Blackness has been harvested. Like even the word Black comes from the harvest of African bodies, right? But the closer they got to those bodies, the more that they...
Hold up.
Watch out. Hold up. Sound off the
people
alarm
ain't
right there.
received that information.
Rewind.
Let's make sure that settles in the skull, okay?
Say that again.
Yeah.
So the term black comes from the harvest of African bodies. Like we were Africans, we became black so that they knew who to harvest. You know what I mean? So that the designation, now we've done what we do all the time, right? We take the word and we use the word to empower us, right? Like there's a great YouTube called Home Team History, and it does nothing but African history.
Wow.
African
Home team?
Home Team History is the name of the
Okay.
YouTube. It does nothing but African history. I never forget this brother goes, they always say that black people sold black people into slavery. He goes, that's impossible. Because when slavery came about, there were no black people. There was no Pan-Africanist movement.
Right.
The designation of black didn't exist. There was nothing that connected us through the diaspora from the Mali Empire all the way up to North Africa, all the way. You know, there was nothing. So it was what you had was Africans selling Africans into slavery, but that's a wholly different thing, and it has nothing to do with any sort of cultural value judgment that you can place on people for putting people in that situation. And it's very complicated, and it's something that white supremacy does to make us think that we're responsible for our condition here. You know what I mean? So when I say the designation of black became something that was used for our harvest, right? Like the closer they got to us, the more that they saw things in us that they revered. And there was a fear in the fact that this was a people that you couldn't kill.
Yep.
There was a fear in the fact that this was a people that you couldn't totally conquer, right? That these people were so biodiverse and so absolute and the original man. And so because of that, there's only so much you can fuck over them, right? They're going to survive. They're going to find a way. Fat people don't get that grace. And fat people don't even get that fear. The fear in fat people is that they're just going to take up space. The fear in, like, when you're talking about fat people is just that they're going to overconsume. And don't get me wrong, there's a fear around blackness that they use as a negative connotation too, that we're violent, that we inherently this. Being black in America is probably probably seen as a negative connotation from white supremacy. It certainly is, but there's a weird worship that goes on there too, that's perverted in its own way. But there's just no winning being fat. There's just like you get on a bus, it's like, yo, how do I sit on this bus? People are looking at you like you don't have the right to exist in the space that you have, right? There's no like
airplanes,
places like that. Like you go to the barbecue, it's so weird. Skinny girl go to the barbecue, pile a plate up.
Yup.
Where are you gonna put all that? Look, she can really eat. Wow, look at that. Where you go? That's like, you like that. Like, be a little bit overweight and try to eat in public. People like you gotta eat to live. People like, have to your big ass self. Have some control.
Yeah.
It's seen as a negative, right?
Yeah.
So it's so for me, when I was there, I found it to be one of the most graceless conditions. I talked about this before, like, look at Lizzo. Like, they are violently against Lizzo doing the same thing that so many other female artists in her same genre do.
Yeah.
Which is use what she perceives as her sexuality to express herself. They don't feel like she has the right because they feel like Lizzo takes too much space to do that. She seems, it can't be easy to be her, but she seems happy and very expressive to me. But people don't want you to express yourself if you're at a certain size. So, and then the fact that obesity runs so rampant in our communities, a lot of times those two things are joined at the hip.
Van Lathan, man. Hey, big round of applause, Van. We well into the next show. So we're gonna have to pick this up again.
We're gonna do it in LA.
We'll do it. Come back, come hang out with us in LA.
I will, and I just want to say, shout out to Sway in the Morning. They, you guys fit me in. I said I just popped up in New York. I'm handling a lot of the promotion myself, and this is like when you call in a cultural favor and someone says yeah, and then of course when you do that they show up late. So I appreciate you guys. Fat, Crazy, and Tired, Tales from the Trenches of Transformation, in stores now. Buy the book. By the way, if you want to know about all the mess that happened at TMZ, that's in there too for all of you messy people.
Yay.
So buy the book. I appreciate the love this morning.
You didn't dance before you asked Sway though to come up, right?
What happened?
You didn't do any dance before you
He
asked
tried
Sway.
to.
I would have, because you know what I'm still gonna do? I'm still gonna come up here one day. Maybe I promise you, when in LA, I'm gonna get busy, bro.
Oh, snap.
LA.
In LA, I'm gonna get.
It's a couple of weeks.
It's a couple of weeks.
Last week in May.
Full
Can you do
week
it?
of May.
You got time?
Come on, man. Yeah, I got Kimmel that week. So
Ow.
I'm gonna do
Light flex.
We in the morning.
I'm gonna get my bars off, and then I'm gonna come over there.
This serious?
Let me tell you, I wrote a rap. For the
Okay.
fact that I gained some weight. It's called Cookies, Cakes, and Pies.
Cookies, cakes, and pies.
Cookies,
Cookies, cakes, and pies.
Sound like Beamer Spencer.
Yeah,
Cookies,
but
cakes, and
without the
pies.
full alliteration.
Yeah, Cookies, Cakes, and Pies. I'm gonna debut that on Sway in the morning. It's all
You
about
heard it first,
cookies, cakes, and
citizens.
pies.
Hold them
Yeah,
to
man,
it.
Big hits coming, Van Lathan.
At
Big
Van
hits coming.
Lathan.
Big hits
Stay
coming.
on them.
Ooh, I can't wait to
Cookies,
get you in the
cakes, and
the
pies.
Valley of the Hyenas. I can't wait to get you there. That's a whole new arena, Van.
Hyenas.
I'm not so
slobbering.
nice when it comes to that. I treat you like my brother, but when you get into that valley, it's different.
Yeah, we ready.
No, hey, listen, nothing but massive respect.
Yes,
course, my
same
brother.
here.
Thank you so much.
You are so needed in this culture.
For real.
You are so needed
Yeah, appreciate
in this
you, man.
culture. We appreciate you. And we want to thank Tiffany Haddish for being on the show today. We'll be back tomorrow. Ironically,
Yes.
Van Jones will be on the show tomorrow.
Oh my God!
I know.
A lot of Vans pulling up.
Your alter ego.
Tracy, how can they reach you?
Citizens, Twitter, Instagram was good. Hit me up over there at It's Tracy GITSTRACYG. Make sure you hit up my sister, Heather B, at the Happy Hour WHB.
I'm at Real Sway across the board. You can check out that the Casey's crew came by, DJ Envy and his lovely wife Gia.
Yes.
You can check out that interview on Sway's Universe. Should be up to date. Van, how can they reach you, brother?
At Van Lathan on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere you need me. VanLathan.
And on that note, citizens, we have nothing left to say.